Hey, it's Jason here from Legend Story Studios, and today we'll be going over the brute deck I played in Savage Land Showdown. Unlike other brute decks, this brute deck does not utilize Reiner's hero ability as it does not play many 6 power or greater cards. Instead, it uses a mixture of cards in order to push through damage with barrage and beatdowns to have a devastating combo late game. The deck is divided into 3 main components. One component is the very aggressive red line card that pushes through early damage. The next opponent is very defensive, lots of defense reactions and way to survive the game. And lastly, it has a combo finish that utilizes potions and barrage and beatdowns to deal up to 20 or even more damage to your opponent to finish them off. A crucial part of this deck is the equipments. We run Scabskin letters, and this is a very important equipment for the deck. This allows us to get extra action points and do devastating turns at the cost of sometimes we have an off turn when we roll a 1. As this deck cares more about explosive turns rather than consistent turns, it's very crucial that we get 2 action points on some turns to make sure we can push through damage through the power of Intimidate. Another key equipment for this deck is Hope Merchant's Hood. On our combo turn, we're going to be drawing extra cards, and we might not always draw the cards that we want, so this allows us to put the cards back in our deck and try to get as many barrage and beatdowns in one turn as possible. The first section, and also the early game of our deck, is all of the red line cards. So we have a lot of very cheap red line cards that do a high amount of damage for very little cost. During the early game, we want to see as many of these as possible, and we want to be using it to deal consistent damage and also push through. A good way to use these cards is to roll with Scabskin letters, and if we get an extra action point, to Romping Club attack in addition to some of these zero cost cards. The second component of our deck is the defensive side. We use a mixture of different cards in order to survive the early to mid game. There are lots of defense reactions that we use. We actually use every possible defense reaction that is available to us in Welcome to Wraith. We run the full set of 9 unmovables and 9 sink belows. Unmovable serves a big purpose in being able to deal with Dorinthia and Bravo, as well as sink below allows us to deal with the smaller hitting heroes such as Katsu. Sink below also helps us filter our deck and put barrage and beatdowns to the bottom of the deck. In addition to these defense reactions, we also have Springboard Somersault and Reckless Swing. Reckless Swing plays a good part in this deck's plan as it helps us deal some much needed damage in order to make sure when we do our combo turn that we have enough to do the finishing blow. In order to pair with this Reckless Swing, we run 1 Drone of Brutality, and since the games usually go quite long, this is enough to enable Reckless Swing multiple times. When battling Ninja and other decks that do small amounts of damage, we have Bonehead Barrier and Sigil of Solace. Unmovable is not as good against Katsu, so against the Harmonized Katachis, we want to be using Sigil of Solace because it basically negates 3 Harmonized Katachi attacks. Now for the part that you've all been waiting for, we have a combo finish in the form of Barrage and Beatdown. But how do we exactly get this combo going? Throughout the game, we want to be playing potions where possible. We have 2 energy potions and 3 time snap potions. Energy potion allows us to effectively have an extra card during our combo turn. Instead of having to pitch to attack with Romping Club, we use a singular energy potion in order to do the final attack. This allows us to play more barrage and beatdowns on the final turn. Time Snap Potion serves a very good purpose. On our finishing turn, we can't always be rolling for Scabskin letters because we don't know the result, but we sometimes want extra action points. Now what we do with this extra action point is Tome of Fendel. This allows us to grab extra cards in our hand, and this means we have more cards to get barrage and beatdown combo with. When we draw excess cards, we also want to be using Hope Merchant's Hood to shovel away the bad cards and then get as many barrage and beatdowns in your hand as possible. We played a full set of 9 barrage and beatdowns, and when we play 3 or more of these cards, it puts our opponent in a tough spot. If we play 4 of them, they can only be blocking with a free defense reaction from the arsenal, and this means we're definitely going to be enabling the damaging part of Barrage and Beatdown and dealing a massive amount of damage. If we end up blocking with a lot of Barrage and Beatdowns during the battle, or we use some up and our opponent's still alive, we got Remembrance to shuffle back Barrage and Beatdowns back into our deck before we go for another combo finish. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick overview of the Brute deck that I played in the Savage Lands Showdown. Unlike other decks, this deck has a lot of different game plans and attacks from many angles. Ultimately, we will be killing our opponent with Barrage and Beatdown, and it's quite hard to prevent this from happening. My tips for playing this deck is to always be aware of your opponent's and your own life total, as well as how much Barrage and Beatdowns is left in your deck. Remember, it's always possible to do 20 plus damage out of nowhere, but you have to make sure your life total is high enough, because you have to take a massive amount of damage before keeping a 5-card hand, including your arsenal, in order to push the damage. When playing against this deck, you want to block as many of the early attacks as possible and not take much damage. This deck struggles to deal 40 damage in one turn, so if your life total is above 30, it's going to take a lot of effort for this deck to deal 30 damage in one turn.